Today, today we're talking about getting into sterile processing without experience. What are some of the issues? What are some of the bottlenecks? And what are some things that hospitals can do to not only encourage more people to get in sterile processing, but to stay where they are? See you when the show starts. This show is all about tracking the toughest challenges in sterile processing. Is that we live in a world where shadowing is considered training.
SPD911, we stand together.
You're not successful if you work in a 9 to 5. Like,
The tears, raw and real, we face the fight, supporting each other, night and daylight.
Welcome back to SPD 911. I am your host, Dr. Jake Taylor Jacobs. And just in case anybody wanted to know, my doctorate is not in medicine or practice in medicine. My doctorate is in business administration. So by trade, I perform surgeries on operations or organizations. So if your organization is in any bit of shambles and it needs a little bit of surgery from a organization doctor or operations engineer, then you give me a call. Everything else, go to your MD because they are the ones that can truly help you. But when it comes to SPD, I have the best co-host on planet Earth. Her name is Sharon Green Golden. She's our director of clinical compliance, and she is, in fact, one of the best clinicians in sterile processing. I'm in awe every single day. I get to spend with her, and we just left Arizona from gracing the stage there. I was so excited to be there, and we're just now kind of getting back. We've been traveling, and I'm excited to share with you all some of the new things that we have going on in the space of sterile processing. I'm excited. SGG, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's a good day when I see you smile now.
Well, I try to smile every day, even though I still don't have a furnace. Won't have one till maybe Monday now.
Oh, so you in there in bundles and coats and jackets and stuff, looking cute for the
I got
show.
heaters going and make the best of whatever it is.
That's right.
A snowstorm's supposed to come in tonight, so we'll see.
Oh, Lord. Y'all pray for SGG. She's going home to the cold while she's burning up hospitals, making them better. That's a good thing. I'm excited to always be back on the show, SGG. We're talking about our producer, Ignacio. I think he gets a kick out of giving us these hard topics to kind of talk about. He puts us in very peculiar situations. Do you have anything you want to share with Ignacio, our producer?
Yeah, Ignacio, is anyone giving you these questions or are you sleeping at night making them up? I'm just saying. This is some oddly enough, there are questions that would be asked, but I'm like, who is asking this?
Yeah, we need to start getting names, Ignacio, because these tongue twisters, we at least have to give people credit for the questions that they're asking us. But I'm excited. We were just visiting some of our partner hospital systems that we support, and we call them partner hospitals because we're in it in the long run with them, and we like to see them truly develop and grow. We're talking about a topic today, SGG, about being new and breaking into SPD with no experience. But the premise of the concept is when you look online, it seems to always be openings for sterile processing from the tech position all the way up to leadership, and they revolve very quickly in sterile processing, even at some of these legacy hospital systems that we see. So before we even break the ice with that, can you just give us a little bit of your golden nuggets or your insights to maybe why there's always this high turnover with sterile processing? We're just jumping right into it. That's my question, Ignacio. I'm asking her this question. So what have you seen in your 30 plus years of this experience? Is it speeding up the turnaround time, or has it always been like this?
Well, first of all, when I started 30 plus years ago, there was no basic standard for you having any experience.
Okay.
We did take people off the street. We took people from the cafeteria. We took people from EVS. Whoever just wanted, they didn't like being in EVS anymore, and they came over to sterile processing. And we did what is called and what is known as OJT, on the job
Job
training.
Mhm.
What we found is that on the job training is only as good as the trainer themselves. If the trainer doesn't know what they're doing, they just recycle bad training. So if I was training you to wash an instrument like you wash your cereal bowl, that's what you learned to do. That's what you did. And when you showed somebody, you showed them how to wash the instrument like you wash your cereal bowl. What we found is that number one, we were following no standards. Number two, we were not following instructions for use, because if they came with an instrument, which in the beginning they did not, we would throw that in the trash. That piece of paper went in the trash with the wrapper. So we didn't even read it. We just saw an instrument. And in our mind, Dr. Jake, our job was to eradicate the instrument of what we could see.
Mhm.
Basic blood and body fluid. So we brought in people and said, Dr. Jake, here's a sink, put on your PPE. We didn't even tell you if the PPE was right, but put on this gown and some gloves and wash this instrument off, fix it, and put it in the washer. Or at that time, it was called a washer sterilizer, and send it over to the other side. And that's what people did. Well, as we evolved, we realized that the instruments were, number one, clean. And our number one premise in sterile processing is that if it is not clean, you cannot sterilize it. So forget sterilization. If something isn't clean, you can't go to the sterilization cycle at all and expect that the instrument will be eradicated of any bacteria. So 30 years ago, you came in off the street and you just worked every day, Dr. Jake. And some days you did bad and some days you did good. And you learned as you went. Some things you learned were good and some things you learned were bad. And you took those bad and good habits and you became a technician that was working in sterile processing. The other team members were just happy to get trays. They just knew that trays were coming up. As long as they were in blue wrap, they assumed the external indicator changed that the item was sterile. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. As we've evolved, we've learned that we have to follow some instructions. We have to know how to before we can do. And so that changed the game. How to before you can do. And some of us training did not know how to. Therefore, we could not train you can do. It has changed, and SPD technicians are not necessarily standing on street corners with signs saying we'll work, because they are a needed group of people. But what changed was that the standard said we need you to have some type of training, possibly before you come in. Have you ever seen a sterilizer? Do you know what an instrument is? Do you know what to clean means? Do you know what bacteria is? Do you understand how bacteria grows exponentially as it sits on an item? That 1 becomes 3 and 3 becomes 6 and 6 becomes 12. Do you know the importance of clean? And so the game changed. Not only did it change on that end, we weren't even technically testing all of our equipment. We were using washers that may or may not have been washing. We didn't know. We just knew you put it in there. It's kind of like going to the laundromat. You put your clothes in the washing machine, you stand there and watch it start filling up with water, and you go sit down. And when you come back 30 minutes later, you assume it washed your clothes. But until you really check the clothes, you don't know if it really washed them. Did you have too much soap in it? Are the clothes still soapy and now you need to run another cycle? You didn't know. So we were a group of people doing a job that was most important for the whole health system without true training. And so it came along and they said, not only do you need some training, do you need to read a book and comprehend what's in the book. We now need you to come in with some hands-on. Have you ever touched the sterilizer? Do you know the washer decontaminated from the cart washer? Do you know the cart washer from the medium-sized sterilizer? Do you know the steam sterilizer from low temperature, which could be at that time ethylene oxide and or hydrogen peroxide? So not the knowledge base changed, Dr. Jake, in what we had to now know. We didn't just need to know all the instruments. Forget that. I have to know a coca from a peon from a mosquito from an Atson brown, an Atson brown from an Atson tissue, an Atson tissue from an Atson dressing. Now you tell me you want me to know how long, how many minutes do you soak the Atson versus how many minutes do you soak a Da Vinci handpiece? So the education level began to rise, but our standards for who we brought in to work in the department did not. Therefore, people being our team members in the OR, realizing that they were not getting the quality of instrumentation being cleaned and processed as was required. Our numbers began to go down. Now, we had people in sterile processing that if they get in there, Dr. Jake, and they really like it, and most of them do, they like working with instruments, they like working with their hands and not so much with people. They like working with equipment and not so much people, that they will stay there and work 30, 40 years. But that group is aging out because they worked for a little bit of money. They learned all of these things. They learned by trial and error. And they learned this is what you don't do. So they didn't do that anymore. And they stayed there. Well, as standards changed, as compliance came into view, as hospitals started saying, our mission is not to harm the patient for real, they started requiring us to know more, to be able to do more. And they did not and have not yet really met the need of paying the team the amount of money you need to pay someone that you're requiring all of this knowledge. So you have a group of people that has a knowledge base that is vast. You know, I know how to cut the steam off behind the sterilizer. I'm not in maintenance. I know that filters need to be changed on the water line. I know that my ROI system needs to be, I know a lot of things that are not necessarily in my scope of actual practice, but I have to know it in order to run an SPD. Because I have to know what should be done to know what could not have been done to be able to say what had happened. So we're no longer able to just bring people in off the street and say, good morning, Dr. Jake. I know you have a degree in business administration. Today, come on in the SPD and we need you to start washing instruments. I can't do that any longer. I've got to get you some actual training. That begins a dilemma for why we cannot just bring, as the session for today is, people in and just say, come into SPD. Here's a rapper. Let me show you how to rap. That no longer works.
I want to give a shout out to, it looks like Deirdre Bandy 9901 on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, LinkedIn and YouTube, we just want to say, hey, whether it's one of you or hundreds of you, we give you everything that we have. This show is meant specifically to be your emergency call every week, to be able to get a little bit of insight for SPD. Today, we're going to be sharing a little bit of things globally to kind of look for that you need to look into. And then also to give you a little bit of jolt of a little bit of motivation to continue doing what you do. And that actually brings me to a point, SGG, because, you know, we have a scenario where hospitals are regularly, saying that we're short-staffed. But when someone applies with no experience, they're naturally turned away because in the requirements, now these are not recommendations we're seeing just for like simple tech positions, or not simple, but, you know, the entry-level positions, tech 1, tech 2, or maybe entry-level that can be accepted, that even, we find talent in the community. We train them here at our research and training facility, and then we get them placed into facilities at no cost to them directly. And we've been doing that for years, 5+ years as a company. But now we're starting to see even our hospital partners who've even hired our students on board, and some of them were quickly promoted to leadership. They're asking us, no more students. We don't want to do any training per se. If you have somebody to send to us that already has a year, 3 years of experience, send them. And we're in this little weird space, SGG, to your point. Yes, there's a lot of things that a technician would need to learn, but it seems that a lot of hospitals are saying that they need people, but they're not investing into truly developing, having a pipeline to develop people, as you say, from the street into the organization. And coming from private sector, our saying is, new people, new bloodline keeps an organization, a department, or an industry alive. And so if we're credentialing people out, where it's harder for people to kind of get in, I think this is where the split is. So is there a reason that you're seeing why there's a big drop off in hospitals wanting to accept? Now there are exceptions, but a standard that we're seeing and traveling all over the country, especially looking at these job boards, they're wanting experienced folk to come and work local rates, but offering almost like entry level hourly pay as an exchange. So what are some of the things that you're seeing, and maybe some adjustments people can make?
So to answer part of your question, Dr. Jake, this is what I see. Sterile processing is an OJT job still. Yep. The hospital takes in a CST, which is your certified surgical tech. They come from an associate degree program. Okay. So they have some college, some background, and they usually have a full year of surgical technician training, a full year. Within that full year, they are placed in hospitals where they shadow somebody and learn what they're being taught in their college program, how to check instruments, pass instruments, do point of care. They're taught that within the year. Sterile processing doesn't have that. We have programs where there is no legal requirements. I can start a program in my community center. If enough people sign up and want to come and learn, I am an approved instructor through HSPA. I can put out a shingle and say, I can teach this course. I have 30 years experience, come to my course. But I cannot get you the hands-on shadow training that is needed for you to be in an actual facility learning. Then there's the component of insurance compliance. A lot of hospitals don't want to bring people in from these programs to work in their hospital because now they have to cover if they do something wrong with insurance. And the big thing that has happened, Dr. Jake, is called lawsuits. Lawsuits due to contaminated and or wrongly processed instrumentation. So they want to be able to stand behind the people that they hire and say, I can stand behind Green Golden because, number one, the requirements were this. She had to have 2 years experience, or she has to come in already credentialed with the basic credential of a sterile processing technician before we take her in. And then we'll make her a Tech 1, and she will stay a Tech 1 until she's able to show that she has complied enough and studied enough to be moved up to Tech 2. So the difference is that it's not apples to apples. When you come into my sterile processing with your 18-week course, all you had was 18 weeks of some book knowledge. You passed the test, but you've never really done anything. So the one thing that's kind of unique about SIPS is that we have a standalone training facility where we can actually train people in the processes in real time. Because in the standalone training facility, you bring in, you have the washer decontaminator, you have the sterilizers, you have the actual instruments, you coat them with the fake blood and body fluids so that they are learning what to do. Most of these community programs don't have that. I will say this is a generalization, so nobody writes us 20 letters. There are many programs in the United States where they have moved them into the community college, and they are teaching them on the same level as they would do surgical technology. They're not doing a whole year still. They're still not doing a whole year, but they have affiliations with hospitals where they say, if we train them, if we get them to point A, will you take them to point B and then hire them to be part of your team? Some hospitals will take people from a program, Dr. Jake, and through the volunteer services in the hospital, they will bring that person into an SPD and train them, give them their 400 plus hours. Now, the upside to that is that if you give me 400 sweat equity hours, where you come to this hospital for 400 hours and I'm training you and you're working, then I get to see something that most people wouldn't see. I get to see your commitment. I get to see your dedication. I get to see how well you learn. I get to see how well you comprehend what it is you're doing. I get to see what type of integrity you have, all within this 400 hours. So within this 400 hours, at the end of this, I'm able to say, Dr. Jake has a doctorate in business administration, but in these 400 hours, he has proved himself well enough to be a SPD technician. And if he goes ahead and gets his basic certification, we're willing to continue training him to be a tech. It actually takes at least 1 year, Dr. Jake, 1 year, hands-on, every day, learning to get a sterile processing technician to where they can stand next to, I didn't say come in by themselves, stand next to another technician and be of value. See, I need that tech to be able to clean the instruments if I'm on the other side putting them together, or put the instruments together, making sure that they are working correctly, that they are clean before they put them in the tray. If I'm working decon, that takes about a year. And so hospitals don't necessarily want to put in that sweat, want to put into that sweat equity. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Now, when you have a manager like me that goes to the C-suite and says, we have to make our own, then if they buy in, as I say, if they drink that Kool-Aid that I'm serving, it's really good Kool-Aid, they will allow me to train sterile processing technicians who have no experience to become great technicians, because a lot of people have that potential. They just need to have someone to give them the opportunity to get the experience.
Yeah. I think you have a major point, and it's a big emphasis that we're making. I truly believe in internal development. I truly believe in personnel investment. I think that when we look on the average amount of time that a sterile processing technician stays with one facility today, it's 2 years on average. And then leaders are staying in position 2 years on average. So you get about 2 or 3 years out of somebody, and you're going to get that. So for me, and then you have the exception, which are the people that will be considered the exceptional to the rule, not the standard, who do stay in one facility or one organization, many years. And what we've seen historically, looking at data, it's very rare these days that someone stays from Tech 1, goes all the way up to management. And it's also very seldom that you will see, is more regular that you will see an external leader come into a facility and stay for more than 5 years than anything else. And I think the hospitals are starting to get a little bit smarter because some of them are actually having them come in and sign multi-year deals to keep them locked in. And so I think that hospitals can do a lot better of a job with getting creative, with getting those people to commit for a longer period of time. But also what I've been able to notice and what we've been able to kind of structure, not giving anybody a little our edge of what we do, but when you have a true development plan, I'm talking about a true development plan that someone coming in, and I know, and I used to tell people this all the time in finance, SGG, not everyone that's in your industry is enthused about your industry.
Yeah.
So the standard can't be, if they don't love it, then they don't deserve to grow or expand. Matter of fact, a lot of the influencers and the subject matter experts that we love in sterile processing that I've personally met and talked to, they all have some similar story. They tried to leave sterile processing. They never thought it was going to be here forever. They tried to find another career. They started another business. Business flopped. They came back to the industry. They know that they will always have a job in. And this is a common thesis inside of sterile processing, which also brings this piece up with the development piece. I have met many sterile processing leaders that have years of experience in sterile processing from when they started, but it wasn't a consecutive amount of years of being in the industry and actually growing and developing. So it'll say 10 years, of experience, and they received their certification 2015, but they've only actually really worked 2 years in the industry, and they dibbled and dabbled. They went here, got kicked out, kept the consulting name as their resume, didn't put any of their resume, the hospital staff there. And so you have this interchanging of guards versus the departments that I did visit, where you have leaders that have spent an extensive amount of time in the space. They have more of a focus on developing people than those that don't. And so it's just kind of like this weird thing that we're seeing, and that what we're implementing inside a hospital system is a true development track. Now, here's the beauty of it. It can't be, here are the trainings, everyone stick to it, and you're good. No, development takes a special science. There are special things that you look for as you're developing talent. And when you're developing them, you know how much time you're supposed to spend with one or the other. And I think that this is the space that we're in, SGG, to where everyone wants the 5-year vet that has tremendous experience, but don't want to spend time developing a 5-year vet that can matriculate in your organization. And that is the piece that I think that a lot of people are missing. And as talented people want to come into SPD, but if they're not enthused, or if they haven't been in 3 years or haven't been certified for a certain amount of time, they're not getting access to certain opportunities. And a lot of it has to do with those leaders who actually don't know how to develop true talent within their organization. That's what I'm seeing.
Right. I think that you are absolutely right. I try to think about, I can only talk about what I know I did. I am one of the, I am an OG. I'm from the old school.
Yes.
And I stayed at one facility 20 years. I didn't go nowhere. I stayed. Now, within the 20 years, I moved from one position of materials management to basic technician, from basic technician, as they saw the potential in me, and I was willing to let them grow that potential by being willing to learn and to study without being told, and to come back and share that knowledge. I moved up from basic tech to lead tech. From lead tech, you know, they saw they didn't want me to leave, so they came up with another little position where they gave me another 15 cents. So you understand, we moving with a little money. I grew within the department because we have to take ownership, technicians that may be listening, for your own growth. I went and said, there's got to be more to this. And how do I get to be the manager? I can't just be the manager. I can't kill the one that's here and say, make me the manager. What does it take? And I've always felt, because I was brought up in that generation, that knowledge is power. So I started going to national meetings on my own money to see what was being taught in the United States. What were people being taught? What did I need to do to grow? What I learned from that, Dr. Jake, was as I became a team leader, I didn't want to be on the mountaintop by myself because it's very boring to be on stand. Once you stand on the mountain and you look around 360 degrees and you come back to where you started, you on the mountain. It's more fun if you bring some people. Right. So I would reach back to some of my team members and say, you ought to get, at this time, certification was not required. You need to get certified. And they would say, why? Are they going to pay? First question, are they going to pay me some more money? Well, not necessarily, but if they do decide to pay more money, you will be in the position to get it.
Hold on. Let me just say this, SCG. I just have to bust this bubble. I just have to. Because here's the truth. Like Donnie said, tell the whole truth. We need to stop eating our young and take time to mature their development. Here's the truth. I immediately get turned off by anybody that states, if I pick up that extra task, do I get paid more money? Especially, and I'm talking to you leaders, the leaders that I talk to, I will never disclose your name. I believe in confidential conversations. But the many vast leaders that I talk to that parade on the platforms as experts, it is very funny how eager and thrilled they are to talk about all of their side business projects that SCG are not revenuing well. Mm-hmm. That's why they end up coming back to their real first love. That's going to pay. That's the truth.
Right.
Go out. You learn all these skills. Don't get paid. You write a book. Don't sell. You create technology. Doesn't take off. You create an innovation. You don't take it all the way through. You get people to buy into your program. Nobody buys. You spend all of this time creating all these extra benefits. You support conferences for free. You join boards for free. You do all of these things for free, but at your facility that pays you for your time, that's investing in your development, that's giving you an opportunity to take care of your babies. The first thing that comes out of your mouth is, do I get paid extra? Mm-hmm. Do I get paid more? And last I checked, the old biblical biblical story or concept is you have to sow before you reap.
Yeah.
And only in scripture does it state specifically to the disciples, especially to the disciples. He said, now you all will reap a harvest that you did not sow, meaning they did so much work outside of areas in other places, not looking for a return, that God is saying that in areas that you least expect, you will reap a harvest in areas that you did not sow. Here's the number one goal of leadership. I would tell anybody this. And I always do this when we do sometimes when I do the leadership trainings. I give John and Ben, they're like two different separate tracks. John is going, he's jumping from facility to facility. Promotion. Then, he feels stagnant versus developing. He then joins a traveler company, travels, chases the money. And then, everyone knows that when travelers typically go to a facility, they put you in one isolated space. And it's usually the space that the locals don't want to do because they're saying, hey, since you get paid so much money, go do that thing. So you're not developing your skill. So you make the money, right? Then you go and petition for a manager's job and a director's job as John, but you haven't developed any emotional intelligence. You haven't developed system building. You haven't developed running in one department, getting denied a promotion, and then having to fight for budget. You just leave when things get tight. Things don't go your way. You get tight. You leave. And it's everybody else's fault but your own. And then you have no true development. You end up an executive by happenstance. Availability, you keep promoting, You were just a director in your last 2 positions. So quite naturally, you think my next position is executive director, not development to it, just positional change. So then you become an executive director and you bust the department. Let's be real. Bad budgeting, terrible supplies, logistics are off, no development. And then the first thing you say is, I know exactly how to get this department under budget. We're going to cancel all travelers. Boom. Just save the department so much money. I'm a winner. And before things get tough, you leave to another facility and say, hey, I saved them $2 million. Not the fact that they're in a worse position now than they were when you got involved. Yet you're climbing up. You end up in executive conversations. You're on stage talking about how great you are as a leader. But when I look at your path, it's a path of destruction, turmoil, and burnt buildings.
Yes.
But Ben says, I'm going to focus on development because there is no greater payout than the payout of leadership, the position of leadership. When you have a history of truly developing true specialists, leaders, craftsmen, technicians like SGG, when you leave, you don't have to fill out an application. You don't have to tell anybody you're available.
Right.
You don't have to go and negotiate your price. When you come in, you say, this is my price. This is my offer. Why? Because as Jesus said, what does my body of work say? And so many people are chasing to get to position that when you get in position, you don't know how to hold position because you've never been in a position of leadership long enough to know what it takes to hold the weight of a department. You don't know it.
That part is true. And but that is absolutely true, and that is what we are seeing now. But from my view, I always, as I said, wanted people to come with me. So I would technically, and as Donnie said, eat your young. I didn't eat my young. I would see my young. I knew, you know, the potential of your child. I would meet them where they were. I would get them what they needed to learn. And what I said is, I need for you to have this much experience. And when you worked with me, you couldn't be a CIS, Dr. Jake, until you had 2 years basic experience. How can you become a certified instrument and put the name specialist when you haven't been looking at the instruments for 6 months?
That's right.
You couldn't have seen all the instruments in 6 months.
That's right.
So I would say, give me 2 years. Do well, and then I'm going to support you getting your CIS, which takes you up another level. I'm going to support you getting your CER. You got to give me some more time. You have to give me some time. Then I also would tell my technicians in sterile processing, if you like dealing with instruments in this work, we have to work on ladders now in these hospitals to promote people, but you can do other things. You can become a CST. I have had several people become surgical techs, and they're some of the best surgical techs because you know what? They know instruments.
That's right.
Right? They started somewhere and built upon that. I have SPD techs who are surgical techs who are now first assistants. You know why? They built upon surgical tech. I have a couple of friends, but I have one friend that he grew from an SPD tech that he is an orthopedic surgeon. He became a doctor. This was stepping stones. Wow. But when you bring people up and you don't just throw them out there and leave them, and you give them something to look forward to, they can grow. But you have to stay long enough to grow the flowers.
That's right.
As you said, I can't be in the revolving door too. And so I know one of the reasons that some of the people, if you talk to who have ever worked for me, will tell you that Miss Golden motivated us to do our best, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, she was always willing to help us if we were willing to do the work, to step to the next ladder. She was there to support us. Yep. I was never so worried, Dr. Jake, as some managers I have talked to that somebody's going to take my job. You can't take my job until I give it up.
That's right.
So you won't be taking it. I'm going to give it up. And even when I moved from one place to the other, I still had something that most people don't have, and that is longevity.
That's right.
And with longevity, you're able to cultivate. See, people with farms, they don't farm for 2 weeks. They have to farm for years. You have to learn that you grow potatoes in this field this year. You can't grow potatoes in this field next year. You have to do soybeans because you got to nurture the soil. So the people that I deal with, I had to stay long enough to cultivate them. The place that I just left, the majority of that team is still there. When I left, they did not leave. They were cultivated and motivated and stimulated to stay where they were. Now, I'm not saying they're having rosy days every day, but to stay where they were because, number one, they know that culture. Number two, they know what that particular company awards them as far as benefits, and they know that they will support them in stepping up. When I left the programs there for them to be CIS, CER, CHL, whatever you want to be. I brought the books and the workbooks in. They're there. You don't even have to buy them. They're there for you. I got people motivated to go to local meetings to learn what is going on in your hospital. Is not anything new. It's happening over there at Johns Hopkins. They're just not talking about it so much. So I think you have to be willing. The other thing is, as the person being cultivated, Dr. Jake, you have to be willing to grow. You have to be willing to grow. I can see your potential all day long. Until you act on that potential and meet me halfway, we don't grow anything. And I can put water on red clay all day long. It never grows anything. I've been in Georgia. Red clay just stays red clay. You rain all day until you get out there with some different soil and some other things and mix that stuff up and till that ground. You're not going to grow anything in red clay.
SGG, I'm looking around. I feel like every time we get on SPD 911, it's just church. We end up just preaching and teaching, and teaching. SPD missionary Baptist. No,
I think what we do is we give it at a level, because there are a lot of podcasts out here now, truth be told. We give it at a level that is down to earth and it's true. This is true beans here. This is not anything made up. This is true beans. And you want to know why your SPD doesn't grow, why your people are in a revolving door. Woo! It's because you have not given them any reason to want to stay. When my team members came to me and say, Miss Golden, I'm going to have to go over to Walter Reed. I said, listen, don't go to Walter Reed just for the dollar. Let me help you understand. The dollar looks good. They're going to give me $2. Okay. That looks good today. But when you get over there and they tell you that you have to have required overtime, when they tell you that you have to do all these different things, you're going to find out that $2 wasn't as lucrative as you thought.
That's right.
When you get over there and they tell you, and now that you're here, we want you to get this certification within the next 6 months. If you don't, we're going to have to fire you. The $2 doesn't look as lucrative. When you get over there and find out the culture is toxic from the leadership down, that you have no peace, you cannot even do your work on a daily basis without it just being wars and wars within the department. The $2 no longer looks lucrative. So there has to be a certain amount of peace where you work, Dr. Jake. And because you can't take care of what you're supposed to do to help my patients if you're in constant turmoil. And so there's more to management than just getting the tray to the OR. I have to cultivate the team members that are working on the trays that are going to the OR to take care of the patient. And so I think that I just try to give that information on that level. I can tell you that I do know how to do a budget. I have done budgets. I stayed long enough to learn how to do a budget, how to follow through on the budget. I worked materials management. So when I tell you that you can't just put an order in and expect the peons to come, I tell you little tidbits. You need to call the order company first and say, do you have them in stock? Before I put an order in, do you have them? Because if you don't have them in stock and I need them right now, I may not be able to order them from you. I've got to do some more research and find another company because I really need this item. But when you don't know that, you don't know. And what you don't know, you don't know. And so you're going into a deeper hole. I had to learn how to make the amount of FTEs I had work until I could get more, and how to go before the board and justify why I needed more people. Not just I need more people. With statistics and data, I had to learn how to get data. Well, you can't get data. You can't learn statistics if you're busy staying for barely 2 years. And in those 2 years, you was putting fires out the whole 2 years, not learning anything. So as you said, there's something to stay put. And so when I brought in new techs, I number one said, you have to give me 3 years. I need 3.
Yep.
I need 3.
Yep.
1 year doesn't even count. The 1 year we was training. And that's even, Dr. J, for folks that come to you with the 1 and 2 year experience. You will find that they don't have as much experience as you said, their paperwork says, because all they ever did at Hospital A was wrap basins. They saw the washer, they saw the sterilizer, but that was never within their scope of practice. So they never worked with them. So they don't know how to even run the sterilizer. They don't even know how to use a washer decontaminator, but they have the years. And as you stated, and let me just reemphasize this, getting your certification in 2015 and working for a year and then not working for 4 more years and then coming back and then just putting all of that together and saying I have this many years experience is just wrong. And so, you know, I have no problem when they interviewed me to look at my resume and say, first of all, you will know that I have longevity. I will not be coming in and running out the door next week. I'm here to get the job done and to learn this particular facility, this team, to help motivate this team to do better. And I can't do that on a revolving door basis.
Man, I'm over here, SGG, hearing you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you're talking, just scriptures are just popping up all over my head.
No, but we ain't in church.
All over my head. But there's one I'm just gonna lay on from my favorite book, and there's a chapter in this collection of books called Romans, right? In this collection of books, and it's talking about developing others. And there's a subset in this book, Romans chapter 15. There's like verse 1 and 2. It says, "We who are strong have an obligation to bear
the infirmities
with the failings of the weak, and not to please ourselves. Let each of us please his neighbor for his good, to build him up." The passage is emphasizing that mature believers should support the weak, prioritize others' growth over personal development, and act with the goal of spiritual edification. So in short, we talk about in business, right? All I do is take all the things from that good book and I bring it to business. And in that book, it talks about that if you are strong in a thing, it will be better for you to develop your neighbors, your coworkers who are around you to become better as well. It's kind of like when you imagine, right? You imagine a neighborhood and all the rest of the neighbors are kind of struggling, and you found a way to do well in life, and you just building this land, this house is getting big, you talk to nobody. Eventually the neighbors who were once kind to you now start prying at you, start picking at you, start looking at you, because you start acting like you're better than thou. You're not talking, you're not communicating anymore, you're not doing that. That's kind of how I think about people developing in their career. I'm developing my career and I only look out for me and not my neighbors around me, it doesn't provide that safety and support that you need that grows the community up or grows the community forward. So that's one element that I think about. The second element that I think about is that you said something that's extremely important. Without vision, the people shall perish. If you do not know how to connect to your new technicians, whether young or old, and ask them who do they want to be, where do they want to be? If they do not know, you let them rent your vision until they can buy their own. You let them rent your vision until they can buy their own. And renting your vision says you pour into them of who they can be. Or you could be a surgeon. You can be a C-suite. You can be an executive. You can be all these things. And I said this to come back to my original point I made earlier, that there are a lot of advocates of sterile processing, and you need advocates that love the thing that they do. But that is the exception to the rule, not the standard of how many people actually support the industry of sterile processing. There are people that are in love with patient safety in this space or this subsector of the industry. Those are the ones you see pushing the initiative of provision forward, certifications forward, regulatory standards forward. That's the very small group. But if I'm judging the consensus off of the commitment of the small group, I could be placing responsibilities and assuming that they are just as eager to be in the space. So I'm allowing for a lot of unstructured things to happen in my department that doesn't allow for them to develop. But if I say, hey, I know that there's only a small subset group of people that will be sterile processing specialists to the degree. They will become VPs of sterile processing, directors, EDs of sterile processing. That's a very small group. And you can see that in the job positionings that are available. It's a very small group of people that can will that into existence. One of the reasons is because of the lack of true development, truly developing people to see that there is something more outside of that. In SGG, you've done a phenomenal job of being able to take someone who's a Tech 1. Now they're an orthopedic surgeon. So it has to talk about how much vision and pouring into this said individual that you were doing to get them to see that we're in the business of patient care. Mm-hmm. How you got into this vehicle of patient care doesn't have to be how you end. Right. But let's make sure you get everything that you can to squeeze out this orange. So if you do progress up, you don't have to retract back.
Right.
Because you have that development that you need to continuously progress forward, improve your cases of development. Now, the other portion to that, the other piece to that is there's a lot of great leaders in sterile processing that don't have the ability to control their own budget, to make their own decisions. And a large portion of that, when I talk to C-suite executives, the reason why they believe they don't give access is because there's a good number, especially of this new cast of sterile processing leaders, that scare executives. Because when they look at the resume, you're there 2-3 years. So if they don't see that you're committed to being in an organization, to helping it become what you want it to be, they won't trust you with the ability to make financial decisions that can hurt a hospital that you're going to depart from 2 years from now.
Right. Because when I came into one hospital and I said, hey, you all, the sterilizers are going to have to be replaced. I've done some research. They're at the end of their lifespan. And I said, I need you to put it on the budget. Put it on the budget now so that we can work towards getting it. I need to stay to see if I can get that through.
Yep.
And understand. You have to be able to see when you're doing budgets. It's not just for right now, this year. You have to have vision 5 years, 10 years down the road. I'm telling you that 10 years down the road, you're going to need a new washer decontaminator. I'm putting that in your mindset now. But a question came up, Dr. Jake. Someone asked about how do you get people to stay? And I think it's my good friend, Regina. 3 years. It's kind of like, Regina, with the military. When you go in the military, you don't sign up for 2 days. They tell you that you got a 3 or 4 year commitment. So What you do when you're bringing someone in with no experience, you tell them we are going. Our commitment is to you. You will have a job as long as you follow the rules, the regulations, and the standards. I'm guaranteeing you 3 years.
That's right.
I need you to guarantee me 3 years. I don't care if they start paying $40 across the street. You got 3 years here, because I cannot cultivate, motivate, and stimulate you to grow, and knowing that you constantly looking in the want ads online to see where you can go tomorrow by saying I worked over here for 2 months, and then this is what they do, Regina. I worked over here with Regina Randall. She was my boss. You can call her and she'll tell you I'm good. I'm Sharon Green Golden. I tell people, don't tell nobody you work for me. Because you don't know what I'm going to say. And I'm going to say it all. I'm not going to say it while I'm working for nobody. I'm going to say it offline at the corner on the corner under the tree. So the bottom line is you have to get people to be committed. I cannot train you in this profession in a year.
Yeah.
But I need your commitment. You commit to the organization. I'm going to make sure legally that we commit to you. And I've had several of them, Dr. Jake, that have become RNs, not just in the OR, they become RNs. One is a psychiatric nurse and somebody's over there working in somewhere else. But you have to motivate people to want to do better and to let them know you can do better. My thing with people was you can be anything you want to be. But if you're over here with me in sterile processing, this is what we're going to be. We're sterile processing techs. We're not trying to learn how to break no horses, so don't go out to the ranch. You're going to be over here in sterile processing. And I'm going to do my best to teach you everything you need to make all the education available that you need, because I need for you to be at your best, because when you're at your best, guess what? I'm at my best. My boss becomes his or her best, and we take care of the patient. So it's I think it's in, and I know we're going to end today with not finishing, but we'll come back. We have to be able to get people to understand this is more than just a paycheck. You're dealing with patients' lives. I have to always put that in there. What you do matters. This is not, you can give me a French fry that's cold. I'm not going to die from that. You can process instruments and equipment that is not done right that can harm somebody to the point of them being sick for months and or dying. And that's not fair, because you just want to get paid every other Friday. So if you're not committed to what this is we're doing, this isn't the place for you. It may be that you're better suited for fast food, because that's another kind of revolving door. But this one, you have to be committed. The other thing, just to put in there briefly, is we stopped going into, I think they're beginning to do it in some states, allowing us to go into the high schools and to put programs in place where high school students can come out and work and learn and get into this profession. Therefore, when they graduate high school, have a job where right now you're not a doctor, but you could be one at any time, but you have a job where you could learn. Everybody's not going to be a doctor. Everybody's not going to be a lawyer. Everybody's not going to be, the president of a company. Some people like what they do. They put their all into it, and they're going to be your best workers, and they're going to be committed. And so letting people know this is a beginning. This is never the end. Yeah. And to come in and learn. That's how I knew I wanted to be in the medical profession, but I learned by becoming a CNA in high school. And when I got out of high school, I had a little job. Everybody else was running around for the summer looking crazy, talking about we graduated. And I was like, I got to go to work.
Yeah, I think,
I built upon that.
I think SGG, I think that's a great way to segment out of today's show, which is when you're working with someone new to healthcare, regardless of age, whether young or second act as a career, giving them building blocks to build off of. Y'all, we have so many examples of people starting in sterile processing that are CEOs of hospitals, orthopedic doctors, neurosurgeons, running supply chains, system executive leaders. Regina Randall is the system director for sterile processing. And we talk about these things. These are the elements that you have to pour into, right? When I was in the finance sector, Sharon, when we hired and we got people licensed to practice finance, um, their first couple of roles were not what they dreamt it would be.
Mm-hmm.
But we kept letting them know who they will become and giving them examples of that flow. And they were so locked into who they wanted to become that the matriculation of their development, they accepted all that came with it. And it was my job to say that when you're ready to open up your own office, I want you to. It benefits me for you to expand and grow because I can use that as a litmus test to let people know I'm a developer of successful financial advisors.
Yes.
That's me. I'm a
Yes.
developer of successful operational engineers. That's
Yes.
me. And so in that construct, we need more leaders to say, you know what? I'm going to build my heaven here. Not anywhere else. I'm going to build it here. And when you embrace the concept of this is a leader's factory, my expectations are high, my standards are high, but when you move out of this facility, I promise you, your next position will be your best one. And they're going to be so happy to have you. They'll fast track you themselves to leadership because you sat under great leadership. And it reminds me so much of the story of Moses and Jethro. Moses was put up into leadership very quick because of proximity.
Mm-hmm.
It was too much for him. He made a mistake. The mistake caused harm. He ran away, hid, but he sat under an amazing leader named Jethro. And that leader cultivated him. It developed him. It pushed him. And he was shepherding. He was doing all types of roles that he didn't want to do. But when he realized in leading million plus people into freedom, every small little aspect that he had to master became a very big piece in how he developed and ran his organization. Also reminds me of a story of David. Everyone talks about David becoming king, but they forgot he was number one at every single thing he did before becoming a king. And he got to sit and watch leadership as the songstress. But he understood, okay, I need to learn how to balance emotions and the pressure of leadership. He got to watch the court, the leadership court, and see the good and the bad. So when he was destined to become a leader, he had every piece of the skill sets needed to be great. Now, what I'm telling everybody here now, whatever your goal is in life, all you have to do is say, while I'm serving this position, am I the best at it?
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer is no, serve that until you're the best. Then develop someone better than you and watch your organization have to promote you. They have to move you up or move you out because of your ability to cultivate. So once you learn it, you master it, you develop someone to master it, and that's then proof that you have mastered and you're ready to move on. This is the development track that you need to be committed to the longer process of growth and change, because it doesn't matter where you go. You can hide in your own business. You can go run under another company's business. It doesn't matter, another hospital, but you cannot hide from your true ability. You cannot hide from your true skill set, and you cannot hide from yourself. Your resume can lie. The numbers can lie. Statistics can lie. References can lie. But what you do on that job, when the rubber hits the road, that's exactly who you are. SCG, what do you want to leave them with?
I just want to leave them with this. I started at the bottom. I learned materials management first. Somehow I got off the nursing floor and got into materials management. But in sterile processing, I did plastic sets, people, until I could do a plastic set with my eyes closed, until I knew all the instruments, I knew them. I knew them when I saw them. I knew their correct names. I knew what they were supposed to look like. I knew that a single hook isn't supposed to have a bend in the middle. What I'm trying to tell you is it takes time to get experience. It's not overnight. You cannot do this overnight. And the importance of your job deems that we do not. I'm doing you a disservice if I get you to do it overnight. So right. I cannot make you do this overnight. I've got to wait and let you learn, comprehend, learn. I have to do that. Each one, teach one. You can't teach one until you know what it is you've learned.
That's right.
And so don't keep thinking of SPD as a dead end place. It is one of the most miraculous places to work.
It's beautiful.
You do a job every day that 85% of people wouldn't want to do. You take care of patients that never get to see you to say thank you. And you get the joy of being able to say, I did it right. I did it correctly. I stand behind my product. You know, how people say you can use this tray on me. That's where you want to be. Sterile processing, it may not be the easiest place to get into anymore. But if this is your desire, then when something is your desire, you work towards that end.
That's right.
You do what is necessary to get in. Stay focused, people. Stay focused. SPD is a good place to be.
And not only is it a good place to be, it's a great foundational place for the next upcoming leaders. Mm-hmm. I truly believe it. If you can learn how to grow and build something amazing in the basement, you deserve to be the fruit on the branch of a tree above ground. You deserve to be an executive and administrator, because who better to actually run a hospital than someone that understands the underworkings of all of the things unseen that makes that hospital work? Who's better at getting to the top than the people that had to work their butts from the basement? Yeah. Listen, as SGG say, listen. You have everything great inside of you. The question is, who do you want to be? Where do you want to land? Who do you want to finish becoming? But most importantly, when you hang up your cleats of work at the end of the day and your name is said, this is your final day working and you're retired, will everyone who remember you say, this person set the standard, or this person had a career of shortcuts? Mm-hmm. There's only two vantage points that you'll have, and only one version you'll be most proud of. So go and be great, from the basement to the boardroom. That's what we always say. All right.
Yes.
Talk to you later. Peace.
Have a great rest of the week.
This show is all about tracking the toughest challenges in sterile processing. Is that we live in a world where shadowing is considered training.
SPD911, we stand together.
You're not successful if you work in a 9 to 5 like me.